Let's start, Buck, down in the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis, it was labeled the Don't Say Gay bill. This morning, I'm reading as I get ready for the show, Buck, and Politico came out with a poll that 51% of American voters support banning the teaching of sexual orientation and gender identity from kindergarten through third grade. 35% are opposed to this. All right. This is pretty massive. When you are in a 50-50 country and you find an issue that you're winning by 16 points, it doesn't surprise me because we talked about this, Buck. I'm a parent, talked to a lot of parents. I don't know very many parents who believe kindergartner, first, second, third graders should be being taught substantially about sexual identity, really sex at all. Were you surprised by this Politico finding, and what does it continue to tell us about how out of touch many journalists are who cover politics?
Well, it's fascinating, Clay, because it seemed like in the early days of this, the activists, the LGBTQ activists who were pushing for this to be essentially slandered as they Don't Say Gay bill, they came up with this phrase. It's like when you call something, you say it's not a wealth tax, it's a death tax, right?
Yeah,
this is
right.
classic politics, Orwellian changing of words, newspeak, trying to figure out ways to move the needle one way or another based on the very specific words that you use. So it seemed like this was under substantial pressure because all the press was asking DeSantis. And what happened, I think, Clay, I think the activists would have been more successful with this one at the Florida state level if it didn't turn into a club for the live media to start swinging at DeSantis with right away. Because what happened? DeSantis, unlike a lot of other Republicans, say, "Oh, I'm not anti-gay. Don't hate me," right? Which, this has nothing to do with being anti-gay. Ron DeSantis goes, "Where is that in the bill?" Right? Remember that audio? We played it for everybody. He goes, where is that? Show me where that is. Why are you renaming a bill as a so-called journalist something that it is not, so that you can attack the bill with something that is a lie? And then when everyone goes, "Oh, wait, hold on a second. They're attacking DeSantis on this. Now it's a national news story." This was Clay, let's be honest. Who had even heard of the Parental Rights and Education bill outside of Florida? Across the country, very few people, right? Maybe Floridians it mattered to, but to the rest of the country it was, all right, this is a Florida state bill. And now it's become a national cause, and now you have people saying, hold on a second. What do you mean these left-wing activists are upset that there's not gender identity instruction happening for first graders? I mean, as I said before,
Crazy.
A first grader may say, one day I want to be an astronaut, and the next day I want to be a stegosaurus. And, you got to just let kids be kids here. We're going to start teaching them about cisgender and genderqueer, which is another phrase that I had to learn recently. I didn't even know what this means. And all these other terms and terminology. Now, you might say, oh, Buck, they won't really do that. They just had a school in San Antonio on the critical race theory front, where they were saying they were separating kids by hair color, and the lightest kids by hair color were to be, mistreated and told they were dumber and worse than the rest of the kids in the class to teach them about inequity in society. These left-wing activist bureaucrats are lunatics, and when parents find out about this, they go, no, actually, I just want what's parents, by the way, across socioeconomic and racial strata. They're just saying, no, I just want my kids to be, learning how to spell and do math and behave themselves in class. I don't want them being taught this, particularly in the first and second grade. The right, once again, has an opportunity here. Conservatives have an opportunity to not just be the party of parental rights and education, to be the party of normal people.
Yes.
To be the party of, we're not crazy. Like, what is this stuff?
Buck, I had a conversation with my wife recently where I said, it disappoints me how few people can't JBN. So she said, what's JBN? So it's my acronym. Just be normal. Just be normal. Normal parents do not want their kids to be taught sexual-related instruction in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. And I got to give a lot of credit to Ron DeSantis because not only did he fight back as soon as this bill got attacked, but Buck, he actually went to war with Disney Do you remember that? Because Disney tried to come out and say, oh, we're going to take pot shots at Ron DeSantis and the state of Florida. And most of the time, politicians curl up in the fetal position and they try to avoid these battles. But this is a great example of why I think Ron DeSantis is being way smarter than his critics, because so often the blue check brigade members, the blue check journos, as you like to call them, they don't have the sense of what the real world is like. And as a result, they think the real world is Twitter, which is where a lot of the media spends their time. And if you live in New York or you live in California and you spend your time on social media, you can convince yourself that things that are wildly unpopular in the real world are normal or supported. Because I guarantee you, if you analyze Twitter for the way that this bill was talked about, you would think, if you're just scrolling through, oh my goodness, everybody's opposed to this. The reality is exactly the opposite. You know, Twitter is a carnival funhouse mirror. It isn't a reflection of the real world. And when I see these data points, it just makes me so angry that we still have so many people in positions of power quickly reacting to whatever the story of the day is on Twitter, as if what those people are arguing in favor of is in any way representative of the nation as a whole.
And yet, when you add this all together, you have, yet again, a moment where we can see a pathway to getting people who aren't mobilized by the usual talking points about, the left or the right or whatever. They're seeing with their own eyes the reality of the school system during the pandemic, and also increasingly with the left-wing bureaucracies that teach this. And as my friend Ryan Gerdusky, we've had on the show before, he always says they don't teach CRT. They actually practice CRT, meaning that they put kids through these exercises that are rooted in CRT ideology without even explaining the critical race theory as what's behind it. And they make them do things like the hair color. This was in a San Antonio school. By the way, this San Antonio, folks, right? I mean, this is in Texas, or this isn't happening. This is not San Francisco or in New York
Seattle.
City.
Yeah.
And so going into this midterm election, I think this is really important, because where did Republicans beat expectations in the last election in Virginia? They beat it with people who were mobilized because of what they'd seen in the school system. And the next time around, there'll be people that'll see inflation and the open border and all those things. The Republican base understands, and I think independents understand, what a disaster the Biden regime is. But we talk about this a lot, Clay. If you can mobilize suburban moms to realize the Republican Party at least wants you to have a say and is not crazy when it comes to your child's education, matters a lot.
Matters a tremendous amount.